Good morning. I am in the nation's capital today. I'm not on the road, and I'm in the largest green space with a fabulous person, Cherie Lejeune. Cherie, introduce yourself and tell me a little bit more about the National Arboretum.
Hi, Terry. Thanks so much for being with me. I haven't seen you for a while, but I've been following your podcasts and all your adventures. We're here today at the United States National Arboretum, and we're behind actually what is called Arbor House, which was National Capital Area, which is the unusual 51st state of what is known as National Garden Clubs. National Garden Clubs has 160,000 members and 5,000 clubs. And our little piece of it for the DMV, 63 clubs, 2,200 members, Northern Virginia, District of Columbia. In fact, your club is the only club in the district officially, and 2 counties in Maryland. In 1964, following the first garden that ever was officially engineered, shall we call it, in this 465 acres, was called Fern Valley. And one of our club members named Edith Bittinger rallied about 23 clubs at the time in the area to get women in their 60s, 70s, and Edith was 80 when it was launched, to put the efforts into what is called Fern Valley. It was a collection that started with 5,000 plants, and the story of that is quite interesting. I just wrote an article for the Friends of the National Arboretum, who now have taken over the whole building. The shop is there no longer, that we ran for 52 years, but so there we were, Fern Valley. Congress enacted the fact that this should be our home, so this is our corporate headquarters. We are responsible not only for Fern Valley, which officially was dedicated in May 1960, but we're sitting in Friendship Garden, which was a joint effort between National Garden Clubs and National Capital Garden Clubs in terms of fundraising. We played for Ohm von Sweden, Wolfgang, to come and design this, what at the time was going to be a showcase for suburbia, who in the old days you would buy the begonias and you would say, and here's what you have in the spring. You have tulips in the spring and daffodils. In the summer, you have geraniums, and in the fall you might have some sedum. End of story. What they did is, this was landscape to have 4 seasons effect. So they introduced grasses, which to the suburban landscape, you would never find different kinds of grasses in a suburban landscape. So they did that, and this was dedicated, as I said, 1991, and then it was rebooted in 2017, totally redone with the same firm. And the last piece that we contributed to was in the front of Arbor House by Fido Studio, Claudia West, most notably with Thomas Rayner, who are up and coming. To say up and coming, they've arrived, okay? They'd be very upset if I said they were up and coming. They've arrived. They do great work. And so it was pride that brought us to be involved with such a prestigious garden. I belong to a suburban club that's 91 years old. When it was first started, there were very few people in Vienna, Virginia. I personally never thought I would be a garden club member. I fell into it through a funny story, but the great thing about the story is that I met women of my same age who had the same international outlook, who were world travelers, who just happened to love doing community gardens. My garden club, for example, has 8 gardens that are open to the public, and it's a gift. And most of our clubs have some community outreach. Your club, for example, did a pocket park, redid a pocket park in the district. People do things from planters in their suburban villages, or they do wide-scale projects in terms of highway work. It's incredible the variety of activity that our specific 63 clubs do. And a lot of clubs who don't do gardens, they'll do community outreach, like seniors, like working with different age, not, nursing homes, for example. They'll do arrangements for them, or they'll have special projects. And during COVID, we're very lucky that a lot of our garden clubs have put together wonderful arrangements, little tiny arrangements that they would drop off to either the local hospital or to nursing homes, so that at least they could enjoy them. And so that's been wonderful. And yes, I'm a techie. And yes, this is a perfect time for me, because National Garden Club people knew that I had this skill set. I got on the beta team for our schools. There are 4 schools: garden studies, environment, landscape, and floral design, flower show school. And a lot of them did online courses. And just the other day, the executive board approved that each state within National Garden Club will be able to do that. And so National Garden Club, National Capital, it's very hard, as you can see, to say these 2 names, will probably start some online courses, because it's wonderful. I mean, the fact that you can accelerate and finish these courses and use them for the benefit of your community is a good thing. I never thought, as I said, that I would belong to a club. My grandmother was the president of Pennsylvania way back in the 1950s. I felt very removed from her love of gardening. My own mother, my dad died when I was very, very young, and we did have a gardener. Now that sounds very fancy, but it's just because my mother was a school teacher and she knew an 80-year-old who loved trimming bushes, so that was our gardener, Arthur, who loved to trim bushes. And we really didn't grow anything, because as my mother would always make excuses to the neighbors, oh, I don't plant flowers because the boys like to use this for playing football or baseball in our yard. So she got away with that. But I love the fact that during the pandemic time that we never quit. We were one of the first states that went into action, sharing resources. All the clubs have had Zoom meetings or connected. I still receive daily emails from certain clubs who send out wonderful cartoons or garden advice. Due to the internet, you can go and Google and you can find thousands of inspiration through green messages. But I think the advantage of what it has done, especially for those of us who love the green world, is we can see a synchronicity of purpose, this total ability to identify ourselves literally all over the world. And that's a gift. I mean, that truly is a gift, because there's nothing holding us back. We can friend somebody on Instagram who's in Australia and say, Janine, can you do us a favor? I've got a whole bunch of people who are interested how you've grown a certain particular kind of native flower for Australia or something. And they are more than happy. They're more than happy to help. And you can also see a lot of our members are master gardeners. And the master gardeners, my goodness, they have gone into high drive, and they have so many programs, not only that has gotten them, I don't know if you know this, Terry, but even in Virginia, they have, you can start the program. They are now doing it all online. Their applications have tripled, because now everybody knows they can take the courses and they don't lose a whole day traveling to the destination of where the courses were going to be. And you don't know, because we live in in an urban area. The traffic is horrible. So if you can be at home and you're drinking, whether you're iced tea or a glass of wine, depending on what time of the day the course is, it's very enjoyable. And so there are huge benefits. I personally never was and in fact, I love to say this, I was not a president of a garden club, but here I am leading 2,200 people and all these clubs, and I'm involved at a national level. In fact, my skills with technology and resources, I will be the next virtual resource chair for National Garden Clubs. And I'm very excited because I'm going to bring together massive amount of inventory. So even if you have 15-member club in Iowa or Maryland, you can go to our library and pull out a program free of charge to use for your program to enhance the knowledge of your members, not just to entertain, because everybody goes, oh, is this strictly for entertainment? No, it's for educational self-enrichment, but as well as, I think an educated person is always a green ambassador. You know this. Anybody who is educated, I mean, we have to laugh. I mean, you know the deal because you're part of GardenCom. Anytime you have these symposiums and you're on a tour, one person will throw out the Latin name and all of a sudden, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I know the Latin name for an aster or whatever. And it's, you know, no, there are no gold stars for that, but it's this enjoyment and this, you can make decisions now of what works in certain areas. You know, what I love in the green world, just like politics, there are people on two sides of saying, I would think only native plants, and people are saying, what are you talking about? We have a botanic garden. We have the opportunity to show people in the community, you know, exotic plants from Asia, which were brought here. And particularly, let's take the National Arboretum, as well as the district in general, like the U.S. Botanical Garden. There's some extraordinary orchids in their conservatory. I mean, or our bonsai museum, which is not open right now here on the grounds, but you know, those plants were donated from all over the world. And why would you deprive somebody? My favorite thing when I used to work at the store is I would see these little kids, and you know, their parents wouldn't buy all the toys. We used to sell toys as well, and you know, they'd come up to their mom, I want this. No. So I knew that the parents were in a hard place. What I loved was I would go to the front window and I would point to an oak tree and I would say, you see that tree? That tree is 60 feet high, and when you go to look in the bonsai garden, you're going to see an oak tree that's this big, and it's not a baby. There are things called saplings, but it's not that kind of baby tree. And I said, it's called bonsai. And it's so much fun. You know, I am certainly not that well educated in terms of my green knowledge, but I love sharing those kind of little tidbits, or the fact that we won, our club won the Ames grant, which gave us $300 worth of garden tools, and they had a really great set of real kids garden tools, not the ones where, I know you have grandchildren, Terry, you know, they all sell those cheap spades and you put it in and the kid in our clay dirt, and the next thing you know, the thing is like bent in half and the kid's going, it's broken. So Ames actually makes scaled tools for children, for youth, that actually work. So if you've got a 6-year-old and you want them to dig up some weeds, absolutely can do it. So, you know, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making the friendships. I enjoy understanding the projects that people future forward see. I've talked to you about, I can't wait to have virtual garden clubs, even in our state, because I do want those younger members. I want those men and women who might have their love in the Sierra Club, no offense Sierra Club, but we're giving them an opportunity not just to clean a stream, but we have an opportunity that we can offer to our virtual clubs the opportunity to either work with our other clubs, their community projects, their gardens, or come to a place like the Arboretum and go work with the youth garden. You know, be one of those volunteers that talks to a family about projects that are going on there. So the spectrum is huge, and every day we're getting better connections. And again, this is not just about flowers. People are very confused who we are. We're not just about arrangements. Although there's a segment of people who are hardcore in our group that love to arrange flowers and judge flower shows. Oh, we had virtual flower shows, which were a hoot. So long story short is that one of the benefits is that through virtual, we can reach out and do a lot of other projects, just like wildlife. Wildlife is a part of what we do. Some people want to learn more about birds. They want to know about habitats that are friendly to wildlife, because as you know, we have an issue about we've encroached on all their land. So how do we create environments that work for us? Unfortunately, I have a deer problem because I'm on almost 3 acres and we have herds of deer, so I'm not in love with Bambi. But I think that there's a good combination, and obviously National Garden Clubs, which we're a part of, absolutely promotes all of that, promotes every aspect of greenness, I don't know how to say it, and climate change. We're advocates. You know, any club, whatever state they're in, for example, what we're going to be putting on our website soon are all the places to go to look for bills that deal with issues, whether it's climate change, carbon footprints. Every state, whether it's the district, whether it's Richmond, Virginia, or Annapolis, Maryland, for our members who are in Maryland, you can go and you can access and research what bills are coming up and what you would like to support. So that's just another angle of how you can engage in a club. Maybe that's all you do in the club and you don't want to go pull weeds, but you'll say, I'll head up, you know, an advocacy group to keep everybody informed. And that is just as valuable as deadheading, in my humble opinion. So yeah, something for everybody. We may be older, but we all know, and this is a fact, that people who belong to garden clubs live a very long time.
Yes, indeed.
And the other good news is we always, you know, in the old days, I think that the garden club members from the 60s or earlier would just say, oh, but it would look so lovely in the obituary. Joan was a member of blah, blah garden club. You know, what we make a joke at my club is, and we have had members who have had no family. We'll show up to the funeral or the memorial service, and that may seem stupid, but you know, the point is that we kind of make a promise of that kind of friendship to honor and respect people who have joined us, because we feel that they are friends for life, and that's a positive thing. I don't want to end on that, but today we're here with thousands of people, and we have had no problems. We've had no problem. There are thousands of people here right now. They're masked in the, I have my mask off, but as you can see, the only numbers behind me are the bees, right, who are still happy. But nobody's had any problems, and they're out there, and you hear children laughing, and you're seeing doggies wagging, coming up to you and saying hello from their owners who are masked. So, you know, I think that we're very lucky to live where we are. Yes, DC has a reputation for a lot of things right now in our country. But one of the things that I know, Terry, you share with me is we have some of the best public gardens,
Yes.
all within an hour of our footprint, in both in, you know, in downtown DC with the Botanic Garden. In Maryland we have Brookside. In Northern Virginia we have Meadowlark. I'm just talking about the bigger gardens. And then for all of this, 2 hours away, we're in Brandywine Valley in Paradise.
Right.
So
Right.
we, you know, how can you not be turned on? And the price is right. The price is right because it's not expensive to belong to a club. I always make a joke with people that are like, yeah, and where does our money go? And I go, well, you come to a district meeting, in banana bread alone, you make up your $8. I know that sounds terrible, but you know, we hold these district meetings. We have fabulous speakers. When I say fabulous speakers, I really mean that. We have green educators who really do a wonderful job in terms of the material they're presenting. So that's the kind of thing we do. We're always putting out educational material and opportunities. We give scholarships. We've always had a scholarship program. And I can tell you, I have an interview, and I don't know if you've seen this on our YouTube channel. I ran into a woman in Delaware 5 years ago. She won every year for 4 years, she won a scholarship. She went to school and she was the head of horticulture for the state of Delaware, because she was not going to be in the green world. She was going to go off, and I think she said she wanted to be a history major, but because she chose horticulture, she got a scholarship. She had to apply every year. She won it, and that gave her the boost, and she and her husband has a big job, or they're both retired now. But isn't that amazing? We have now tracked for National Capital. Our scholarship chair started with the first scholarships we gave back in the late 70s, and she's tracking somebody from every year who won a scholarship to see if they had a green connection in terms of their employment or their appreciation. And so far she's met people who absolutely, whether they work for the EPA, whether they work for the state of Virginia in the resource department, Maryland for county. There was a person who worked for Montgomery County who was in charge of, and that's something to be proud of. And they all said the same thing. They ended up because they got this scholarship boost. So yeah, it's something to be proud of, to be associated with, and that will continue. So I'm sorry I'm talking so fast, but I have a lot of enthusiasm for this, because what is not to love about this job? What is not to love? So I feel very fortunate.
And it's not your grandmother's garden club.
It is not my grandmother's garden club. And, you know, it's just a joy to have so much fun. I don't care what it is. You know, it's just so much fun to be with others, to do these projects wherever we are. And we know we're going to leave a legacy. I told you this earlier, that I know that for our club, some of us have white violets in our gardens that came from 60 years ago. Am I saying that right? No, if she was from the 19th, 70 years ago, that are going forward. And again, I made this joke to you, you know, yeah, someday we'll be pushing up daisies, but I want to be connected while I can see the daisies. And if I can get and grow natives that other people can enjoy, I know 100 years from now, some of the plants that we sold for our plant sale, for example, in my club, they're going to be in those gardens. They're going to not have a clue about its ancestry, although they are getting smarter about the genetics of plants, which is also a very exciting field. But, you know, it's a gift. I mean, we all wonder about that, but you know that the green thumbprint that you are involved with today, whether it's at a big garden like this, or it's even in your backyard, to know that the next owner who will have your property, you know that from your own home, it's wonderful. I mean, what, again, I say it, what is not to like, or some people say what's not to love. And so thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share what I do with you.
One quick question. What advice would you give to all the people that have become gardeners during this time of unintentional pausing?
Number one, don't give it up. I know that a lot of people are back to work, not necessarily in buildings, but they're, you know, they're having to be more accountable for their time, right? You know that. But to be able to find out how they can share. And in fact, you see this. I love Nextdoor, you know, Nextdoor, which is the app, which has exploded all across the country. What you'll find future forward past this pandemic is that people are literally doing plant swaps everywhere. They're doing plant swaps. And I think, I mean, don't we all love when spring comes and you go out? It's like the holidays. It's like Christmas. You're like, oh my God, I bought those bulbs, and there they are. And and usually you're not disappointed, of course, unless the groundhog or the deer, like in my garden, eat them. But there is a connection. There is a physical health benefit. And that's what I would say to them. In a time when we were all stressed out, some people fell in love with pulling weeds. I mean, pulling weeds is therapeutic for a lot of people. And to keep that going and to find out, doesn't hurt to find out what clubs are in your area. Okay, so maybe you're only 45 and your club, everybody seems to be average age 70. Isn't it good to feel like you're the youngest person and gain all those new moms who are going to love and adore you? And that's what happened in my club. We gained all these members who, some, not me, but some members who are 40-something-year-old members. These women would be their moms, and oh my God, they get so much extra TLC. I mean, what is not to like about somebody caring that extra little bit about you? And so there are many, many, many benefits. So that's what I would say. It's going to keep up. Nobody's going to turn around and say, okay, I'm done with gardening. It's impossible to ever turn away. Once you get dirt under your nails and you see something that you planted and it blooms, it's I don't know, it's a pretty good turn on. It's a pretty good turn on. So.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And we're sitting in the Friendship Garden of all places. I value and cherish your friendship and look forward to growing with the National Capital Area Garden Clubs and National Garden Clubs, period, because it truly feeds my soul.
Thanks, Cherie.